What happens when the daughter of a powerful police chief, a young woman known for her arrogance, her privilege, and her unshakable belief that the rules simply don't apply to her, collides with a 70-year-old disabled veteran, a man who sacrificed everything for his country? What happens when that moment of cruelty, captured on a grainy street camera, ends up in the courtroom of Judge Frank Caprio, a man whose reputation for compassion, fairness, and moral clarity has earned him millions of admirers around the world? No one in that courtroom knew that the next 10 minutes would become one of the most shocking, uncomfortable, and unforgettable moments ever witnessed under Judge Caprio's gavel. It begins with the veteran, frail, soft-spoken, his left leg still weakened from an explosion in the line of duty, standing alone beside the prosecution table. His hands tremble slightly, but not from fear. He has faced battlefield fire hotter than any courtroom. He is here because someone with status, power, and a badge in her bloodline thought it was acceptable to shove him to the pavement during a parking dispute, and then laugh as he struggled to stand. And then she walks in, chin lifted, sunglasses still on indoors, chewing gum like she owns the oxygen in the room. The gallery murmurs. Even the officers in the courtroom exchange looks. Everyone knows who she is, the police chief's daughter, the girl who never hears the word consequences. She flashes a smirk at the veteran. He looks down, not wanting confrontation. But Judge Caprio sees everything, the imbalance of power, the disrespect, the quiet pain. And at that moment, as he adjusts his glasses and leans forward, the entire courtroom senses it. Something rare is about to happen. Justice is about to collide with privilege, and only one of them will walk out unchanged. But even before the hearing officially begins, there's a tension in the air so thick it seems to press against the walls. People shift in their seats. Someone whispers, "This is the one everyone's been talking about." Because word has already spread across the city. What happened between the police chief's daughter and the elderly veteran wasn't just disrespectful. It was cold, it was calculated, and it was caught on video so clear that no amount of denial could erase it. Some courtroom staff say this moment will become one of the most replayed clips in Judge Caprio's history, a turning point that would test not only the defendant but the judge himself. They know Judge Caprio, they know his patience, his kindness, his willingness to understand people. But they also know something else. He has zero tolerance for cruelty toward the vulnerable, especially veterans. As the bailiff calls the room to order, the young woman, her name, whispered with disgust among the spectators, is Brianna Hale, leans back in her chair like she's waiting for a boring lecture. She checks her nails, rolls her eyes, and when the veteran glances her way, she gives him a smile dripping with arrogance as if to say, "Nothing's going to happen to me. Do you know who my father is?" But she doesn't know what the viewers at home will soon see. She doesn't know what's coming. No one does, because today, in this packed, silent courtroom, something is about to unfold that will leave the entire internet stunned. Something so unexpected, so emotionally explosive, that the people in the first row will swear they saw Judge Caprio's expression harden in a way they had never seen before. And none of them realize Brianna's father, the police chief himself, is already in the building, hidden in the back, watching, waiting. Before the shocking confrontation unfolds, the narrator breaks through the rising tension. Because moments like this don't just pass by unnoticed. They change people. They challenge what we think justice looks like. And if you're watching this right now, listen closely. Only 5% of the people who watch these stories are actually subscribed. Yet every day you say you want justice, you want accountability, you want to see moments where truth stands up against privilege. Moments just like the one that's about to unfold in Judge Caprio's courtroom. So if you believe in fairness, if you believe that no one is above the law, and if you believe our veterans deserve respect, then do the one thing that helps this channel keep telling stories like this. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and drop a comment saying justice for our veterans. Because what happens next, what Judge Caprio is about to do, what the young woman's father is about to reveal, and how this entire courtroom is about to erupt, you won't want to miss a second of it. Now, let's go back inside that courtroom where silence hangs like a loaded question and where the police chief's daughter is about to discover that her last name won't save her today. The story truly begins on a cold November morning, long before the courtroom filled with spectators and long before Judge Caprio would sit face to face with the police chief's daughter. It was the kind of morning where the wind felt sharp enough to cut through clothing, and the streets of Providence were still wet from a night of icy rain. Most people were hurrying from their cars to warm buildings, heads down, shoulders hunched. But one man, Arthur Brennan, a 70-year-old retired Marine and longtime firefighter, moved slowly but deliberately across the sidewalk as he made his way toward a small veteran outreach center. Arthur had lived more than one lifetime's worth of battles. He'd survived shrapnel to the leg overseas, pulled families from burning homes during his firefighting years, and spent the last decade volunteering for PTSD support groups. But age had taken its toll. He walked with a subtle limp, his joints stiff in the cold. Still, he greeted every passerby with the same quiet dignity he'd always carried. What he never expected was that this morning would bring the most humiliating moment of his life. As Arthur approached a parking space near the outreach center, one marked clearly as handicapped, he saw a shiny luxury coupe swing recklessly into it. The car door flew open, and out stepped Brianna Hale, daughter of Police Chief Raymond Hale. 22 years old, overflowing with confidence she hadn't yet earned, she strutted like the world had rolled out a private red carpet for her, phone in hand, designer bag dangling from her wrist, sunglasses despite the cloudy sky. Arthur tapped gently on her window, thinking maybe she hadn't seen the sign. She turned, looked him up and down, and scoffed. "What?" she snapped. "Find another spot, Grandpa." He tried to explain, calmly, that he had a placard, that the space was meant for people like him. But before he could finish, she shoved past him, muttering something cruel under her breath. When he instinctively put out a hand to steady himself on the car, she spun around and pushed him, a hard, sudden shove that sent him backward onto the cold pavement. She laughed, actually laughed, then pulled out her phone and began recording him struggling to stand. A nearby security camera caught everything. By the time officers arrived, Brianna was already crafting a story about how the old man had grabbed her, trying to flip the script in the same way privileged people often do when cornered. But this time, she hadn't realized the entire incident was on video. Arthur didn't want revenge. He didn't want money. He only wanted respect, something he had spent a lifetime giving others. The prosecutor insisted on moving forward, and when the judge assigned to the case was announced, the entire department went silent. Judge Frank Caprio, a man known for second chances and for refusing to overlook cruelty toward the vulnerable, which is why Arthur now stood in the courtroom, hands folded, heart unsteady, and Brianna Hale sat smirking in her seat, believing her father's badge would make it all disappear. The moment Judge Caprio calls the case, the atmosphere in the courtroom shifts. People sit a little straighter, conversations hush instantly. Even the fluorescent lights above seem to hum quieter, as if they too are waiting for what's about to unfold. "State of Rhode Island versus Brianna Hale," the clerk announces. Brianna saunters to the podium with a swagger that makes even the bailiff raise an eyebrow. She chews her gum loudly, snapping it between her teeth as though this is just another minor inconvenience between brunch and shopping. She doesn't stand behind the podium. She leans on it, elbows out, as if she's claiming it. Judge Caprio studies her carefully. His eyes move from her posture to Arthur, who stands stiffly, hands clasped in front of him like a soldier waiting for orders. The contrast between them is startling. "Miss Hale," Judge Caprio begins in his calm, measured tone, "you are charged with assaulting Mr. Brennan. How do you plead?" She shrugs. Actually shrugs. "Well, I mean, not guilty, obviously." The gallery murmurs. Arthur looks down, jaw tightening. Judge Caprio leans forward. "Are you disputing that an altercation occurred?" Brianna lets out a small snort. "Okay, look, I didn't assault anybody. The guy fell. He's old. That's what old people do, right?" She smirks, as if expecting laughter. The room freezes. Arthur's shoulders shake slightly, not in fear but in disbelief. Even the seasoned prosecutor stops shuffling papers. Judge Caprio doesn't change expression, but something hardens behind his eyes. He asks gently, "Mr. Brennan, are you able to describe what happened?" Arthur clears his throat. His voice is soft, almost apologetic. Your Honor, I don't want any trouble. I just didn't want to be shoved, that's all. Brianna interrupts with a scoff loud enough for the whole courtroom to hear. Oh my God, I barely touched you. I have no idea why everyone's acting like this is some huge deal. He's milking it because he probably wants attention. A sound ripples through the room, part gasp, part outrage. Judge Caprio raises a hand. Miss Hale, you will not interrupt again. She rolls her eyes. Whatever. The judge nods subtly to the bailiff. Play the video. The screen flickers to life, casting a cold blue glow across the room. There it is. Crystal clear. Arthur tapping gently on the window. Brianna shoving him with both hands. Arthur's body hitting the pavement. Her laughing. Her recording him. Every second is undeniable. Brianna's gum stops moving. Her confidence flickers just for a moment, before she quickly masks it with crossed arms and an exaggerated sigh. When the video ends, the courtroom is silent enough to hear a pin drop. Judge Caprio folds his hands. Miss Hale, he says quietly, do you have anything to say before we continue? She smirks again, arrogant, unshaken. Yeah, my dad's the police chief, so I think we're done here, right? The entire courtroom goes still. Brianna doesn't notice it, but everyone else sees it. For the first time that morning, Judge Caprio's expression truly changes because her father is here. He's been listening the whole time, and what happens next will shake the courtroom to its core. Before Judge Caprio can even respond to Brianna's smug declaration, a low rustle moves through the back of the courtroom. It starts as a whisper, then a shifting of jackets, then a collective tightening of posture, like the room itself senses a pressure change. Judge Caprio notices it. Brianna does not. The doors at the rear of the courtroom open quietly. A man steps inside. Not just any man, Police Chief Raymond Hale, decorated, respected, a 30-year veteran of the department. His uniform crisp, his expression carved from stone. Brianna freezes. Her smirk collapses. She wasn't expecting him. No one was expecting him. The chief walks slowly down the aisle, the sound of his footsteps echoing in the courtroom like a drumbeat signaling judgment. Officers in the gallery straighten. The prosecutor steps aside instinctively. Even the bailiff stands taller. Brianna lets out a nervous laugh. Dad, what are you doing here? You didn't have to. But he doesn't look at her, not even once. He walks straight to the front of the courtroom, stopping just behind the prosecution table. His shoulders rise and fall with a long breath, and only then does he turn to face his daughter. What comes next silences even the spectators who came just for the spectacle. Your Honor, Chief Hale says, voice steady but heavy with something deeper, something closer to shame. I ask permission to address the court. Judge Caprio nods. Of course, Chief. Brianna's voice cracks. Dad, seriously, you don't have to make this a big... He lifts a hand, stopping her cold. And for the first time, the powerful and untouchable daughter looks small. Chief Hale turns toward Judge Caprio. I've spent my entire life serving this city, he says, but today I discovered I failed to serve my own home. His voice drops. I had no idea my daughter was capable of this, and I won't be the man who hides the truth or shields wrongdoing, even when it's my own blood. Gasps ripple through the gallery. Brianna's mouth falls open. Tears well in her eyes, not out of remorse, but fear. The chief looks at her finally. Brianna, you're not here because of who you are. You're here because of what you did, and today there will be no special treatment. The courtroom hangs in stunned silence, because the girl who believed her last name made her untouchable has just learned the truth. Not even the police chief can save her now. For several long seconds, no one breathes. Brianna blinks rapidly, her eyes darting between Judge Caprio, the spectators, and finally her father, her shield, her excuse, her lifelong safety net, now standing firmly on the side of justice instead of protection. Dad, she whispers, her voice cracking, why are you doing this? Chief Hale turns fully toward her. The weight of decades in uniform seems to settle across his shoulders. He removes his hat, holds it against his chest, and speaks not as a police chief, but as a father who has reached the most painful crossroads of his life. I'm doing this, he says softly, because I love you. Brianna flinches, confused. Tears spill down her cheeks, but she doesn't wipe them. She just stares at him, lost. You think love is shielding you from consequences, he continues. You think being my daughter means you get to disrespect people, to hurt people, to walk through life without ever being told no. His voice turns gravely. And that's my failure. I taught you how to be confident, but I didn't teach you how to be kind. Brianna shakes her head, choking back a sob. I didn't mean... Don't, he interrupts, sharper now. Don't lie. Not today. He gestures toward Arthur. You shoved a man who served this country, a man old enough to be your grandfather. Then you laughed. You thought it was funny that he struggled to stand. That's not just a mistake, Brianna. That's cruelty. Arthur shifts, uncomfortable with the attention. Chief, he murmurs, please, you don't need to. But the chief raises a hand gently. Mr. Brennan, if anyone deserves to hear this, it's you. He turns back to Brianna and his voice breaks slightly, just enough for the courtroom to feel the tremor beneath his composure. Your mother and I didn't raise you to become this person. I don't care how embarrassed you are. I don't care how hard it is to hear this in public. You need to understand something. Love without accountability isn't love. It's abandonment in disguise, and I am done abandoning my responsibility as your father. Brianna covers her face, sobbing now. Uncontrolled, unpolished, raw. Not the tears of a spoiled girl whose plan failed, but of a young woman finally realizing the truth she's avoided her entire life. The chief steps slightly closer, but not enough to comfort her. Not yet. You will answer for what you did, he says quietly. Not because I want to punish you, but because I want you to grow. The gallery sits in absolute silence. Even the cameras stop humming as if the moment itself commands reverence. Then Chief Hale turns to Judge Caprio. Your Honor, whatever sentence you believe is just, I support it, fully, as a chief, as a citizen, and as a father. Brianna's crying has softened into small, shaking breaths. Her arrogance is gone. Her mask is gone. For the first time, she looks truly, painfully human. Judge Caprio sits in thoughtful silence for a long moment, hands folded neatly before him. The courtroom is still, so still that it almost feels like the world outside has paused to listen. When he finally speaks, his voice is gentle, but it carries a gravity that settles deep into the bones of everyone present. Miss Hale, he begins, turning his attention to Brianna, whose tear-stained face barely rises to meet his gaze. I have presided over this courtroom for many years, and in that time I've met people from every walk of life. Some come here because of unfortunate circumstances, others because of poor decisions. But very few stand before me for something as troubling as what I saw in that video. Brianna looks down, shoulders trembling. Judge Caprio continues, his tone calm but unmistakably firm. I watched you shove a man who has given more to this country than most of us ever will. I watched you laugh as he lay on the pavement struggling to rise, and I watched a young woman who behaved not with ignorance, but with malice. Brianna squeezes her eyes shut, tears falling freely. And yet, Judge Caprio says, softening, I also listened to your father, a man who clearly loves you, a man whose honesty here today shows a level of integrity that every parent and every public servant should aspire to. Chief Hale lowers his head in silent respect. The judge shifts his gaze to Arthur. Mr. Brennan, you displayed dignity in the face of humiliation. You stood here today without anger or vengeance. Your restraint, your humility. Those qualities speak more loudly about your character than anything in your military record. Arthur swallows, deeply moved. Judge Caprio returns his focus to Brianna. Young lady, life is going to teach you many lessons, some gentle, some harsh. But the most important lessons, the ones that change us, often arrive in the form of consequences we cannot escape. He sits back slightly, voice quieting but gaining emotional weight. I have always believed that justice is not simply about punishment, it is about redemption. It is about restoring dignity to the victim, responsibility to the offender, and humanity to both. The courtroom hangs on every word. You have an opportunity here, he tells her, an opportunity to become a better version of yourself, but only if you accept that what you did was wrong, deeply wrong, and that you need to change. Brianna finally looks up, her voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I don't know why I acted that way, but I want to fix it. I do. Judge Caprio nods gently. I hope so, Miss Hale, because today is not merely about a sentence. It is about who you choose to become when you walk out of this courtroom. He folds his hands again. And now, I will deliver a sentence meant not to destroy your future, but to rebuild your character. The room exhales all at once, because everyone knows this will not be an ordinary punishment. Judge Caprio adjusts his glasses and lets the room settle into silence. Everyone leans forward, the officers, the spectators, the attorneys, because every person in this courtroom knows they're about to witness one of the most memorable sentences ever handed down in his courtroom. Not because it will be cruel or harsh, but because it will be crafted with the same precision, wisdom, and compassion that has made his judgments resonate far beyond providence. He turns first to Arthur Brennan. "Mr. Brennan," he says sincerely, "I want you to know that this court recognizes the decades of service you've given to this country, both in uniform and as a firefighter. You deserved respect, you deserved gratitude. Instead, you were humiliated. What happened to you was wrong, and today we are going to restore your dignity." Arthur nods quietly, eyes wet. Then Judge Caprio faces Brianna. "Miss Hale," he begins, "you will serve 7 days in the county detention center. Not because I wish to see you punished, but because actions like yours must have real, tangible consequences. There is no growth without discomfort, no change without responsibility." A soft gasp moves through the courtroom. Brianna closes her eyes, breathing shakily, but she doesn't argue. "However," the judge continues, "that is only the beginning." Her eyes open, uncertain. "You will also complete 100 hours of community service working directly with veterans. You will listen to their stories, help them, serve them, understand the sacrifices they've made. You will learn the value of humility through the people you once disrespected." Brianna swallows hard, nodding slowly. "And that is not all." He folds his hands, speaking with deep purpose. "You will record a public video apology, not one crafted by lawyers, not one filtered for social media, but a genuine apology in which you acknowledge your actions, your cruelty, and the changes you intend to make. This apology will be shared with the veteran community." Her face burns red with emotion. "You will also visit the police academy," Judge Caprio says, "and speak to incoming recruits about the dangers of entitlement, the importance of integrity, and the necessity of treating every citizen, no matter their age, status, or condition, with respect. You will tell them what you did, how wrong it was, and what you learned." Chief Hale bows his head, accepting every word. "And finally," the judge adds, "you will attend anger management and empathy development sessions, because this isn't only about consequences, it's about transformation." Brianna's tears flow again, but this time they're different. They're not from fear or embarrassment. They are the first signs of realization and maybe even growth. Judge Caprio's voice softens. "If you complete all of these requirements with sincerity, not just compliance, then after 6 months, I will consider sealing this incident from your permanent record. Not to erase what happened, but to mark the moment you chose to become a better human being." The courtroom is silent, moved, awed. Judge Caprio ends with 8 words that echo in the hearts of everyone present. "Let justice teach you what privilege never did." 6 months after that unforgettable day in Judge Caprio's courtroom, the city of Providence wakes to a crisp spring morning, warmer, gentler, and quieter than the one that started this entire story. The Veteran Outreach Center on Elm Street opens its doors as it always does, with the smell of fresh coffee drifting into the hallway and the hum of early conversations filling the room. But something is different now. Because sitting at one of the round tables, carefully organizing stacks of pamphlets for new veterans, is Brianna Hale, no longer dressed in flashy designer clothing, no sunglasses indoors, no attitude heavy enough to darken a room. Her hair is tied back simply, her posture humble, her expression warm and present. She has come here not because the court orders her to anymore, but because she wants to. Across from her sits Arthur Brennan, the man she once shoved, the man whose dignity she once stole, the man whose forgiveness she now cherishes more than anything. He watches her proudly as she arranges the flyers with a level of care she never would have shown before. "They're crooked, kid," he says playfully. Brianna laughs, a real laugh, light and unguarded. "Everything's crooked to you, Arthur." It's not just friendship they've formed, it's mentorship, connection, healing. During her community service, Brianna listened to dozens of veterans. She heard stories of sacrifice, bravery, trauma, and resilience. And for the first time in her life, she understood what it meant to respect someone, not because she was told to, but because they had earned it 1,000 times over. The video apology she recorded went viral, Not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. She didn't defend herself. She didn't make excuses. She owned her cruelty. And people listened. Her talks at the police academy became something recruits looked forward to. She told them about entitlement, about ego, about the dangers of believing a last name makes you untouchable. She told them about the day she learned the truth about herself and how justice had saved her, not ruined her. Chief Hale watched every one of those speeches, often from the back of the room, always with glassy eyes. Their relationship changed too, slowly but beautifully. Gone were the days of blind protection and unearned privilege. Now they spoke with honesty, accountability, respect. And on this particular spring morning, as the Outreach Center door swings open, Chief Hale steps inside with a shy smile. He greets Arthur, then turns to Brianna. "You ready?" he asks gently. Brianna nods. Today is the day they return to Judge Caprio's courtroom, this time not as adversaries, not as a frightened father and a reckless daughter, but as two people who have faced the truth and come out better for it. Arthur pats her shoulder. "Go show him who you've become." She hugs him, something neither of them could have imagined 6 months earlier, and walks out beside her father. Because today she will stand before Judge Caprio not to avoid punishment, but to show the world what accountability can create. The courtroom is quieter this time. No tension, no whispers, no expectation of confrontation. Instead, there's a calm sense of closure in the air, as if everyone present understands they're about to witness not a punishment, but the completion of a transformation. Brianna stands at the podium, shoulders steady, hands clasped. She speaks clearly. No shaking, no excuses. "Your Honor, 6 months ago, I was someone I'm ashamed to remember. I hurt a man who deserved nothing but respect. I embarrassed my family, and I believed I was untouchable." She pauses, breath trembling. "But today, I'm grateful, because your sentence didn't destroy me, it changed me." Arthur sits proudly in the front row. Chief Hale watches with the look of a father who finally sees hope where fear once lived. Judge Caprio smiles gently. "Miss Hale, you kept your word. You completed every requirement and more. You didn't just comply, you grew, and that is the purpose of justice." Brianna wipes her eyes, but she's smiling now. Then Judge Caprio turns to the courtroom, his voice ringing with the quiet authority that has defined decades of service. "Let this be a reminder to all of us. Real love means accountability. True justice creates redemption, not ruin. And character, true character, is revealed in how we treat those who cannot give us anything in return." He glances toward Arthur. "Our veterans deserve honor, our elders deserve dignity, and our children deserve to be taught, not shielded." The chief bows his head, deeply moved. Judge Caprio delivers his final words with warmth and conviction. This is what justice looks like. Not revenge, not privilege, but growth, responsibility, and the courage to choose the right path, even when it is the hardest one. As Brianna steps back, Arthur rises slowly and opens his arms. She walks into the embrace. The courtroom applauds. Not for punishment, not for drama, but for transformation, earned, honest, and complete.